Live for the Power Chat series. Today, our guest is Kaityln Vong. Kaityln, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Good. So, this is the post show for the U.S. Capitol Classics in DC, U.S. Capitol Classics China Open in DC. As you can see, everybody in the picture, Kaityln with the trophy is on stage for winning the Korean Challenge, one of the new exciting events this year on the NASCA circuit and in sport karate. So, Kaityln, tell me a bit more about what it took this tournament to get on stage and to take home the win.
Yeah, so again, this is the first year that they're holding the Korean Challenge. And so I believe it's very different from the way that the Japanese traditional form is set up. So it's kind of like they have rounds, just like sparring. And so I think this tournament, they had, I believe, 8 competitors for the women's Korean Challenge. And so the first round is like any other division. You go in the ring, you do your form, and then once everyone does their form, the judges will give out their scores. And then what they do is they take the top 4 competitors and they'll move them to the second round. And so the first person, person got first place, will go against the fourth place winner. And then the second place winner will go against the third place winner. And so from there, they take the winners of those and then they move them to the final show. And so it ended up being me and Gabrielle Dunn-Rudolph in the final show.
Okay, and you competed against Gabrielle Dunn Rudolph previously when when this division first debuted at the Battle of Atlanta. This is your second time winning, correct?
Yes, it is.
All right, what's the energy like on stage as you compete at the same time against someone else with possibly two different forms for the Korean Challenge?
Yeah, I think it's like super exciting and it's like very different than any other division on the NASCAR circuit because you have, 2 people going at the same time. And it's fun because I believe also in the men's division, there was like an issue kind of with like the spacing. I believe like Jeff had to like kind of step back and do a move so that he didn't hit Billy. And then with our division, when me and Gabrielle was going, we like totally crossed paths.
Wow.
And I think there was a picture too we could see in the live show where we kind of crossed and we kicked at the same time, and like you could just hear the audience like whoa, and just thought it was like really cool too.
It's amazing because they're bringing a level of combat to forms right on stage. So that's super exciting. Is it something that when you were on the stage competing, doing your form, did you have in the back of your mind like, oh my gosh, we're about to cross paths? How did you manage those thoughts?
Right. So yeah, I noticed that I finished with one side and then I turned and I saw Gabrielle there. But I noticed I did have a little bit of space. And so instead of like kind of stopping, waiting for her, I just kind of kicked in front of her and just continued on with.
What's up?
Oh, oh, sorry, my screen went blacked out. Sorry.
Oh, you're still
Um,
there.
okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. Yeah, so we just pretty much continued, even though we were very like close knit together. We put on a show, did our best out there.
It's kind of like when you're driving and you just both drivers decide to commit, kind of.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Awesome. All right. Now, you I remember we used to compete together against each other, and you also did CMX. Like you did
Yeah.
creative musical forms, super clean back then too. Are you just focusing on traditional now?
So I'm still doing all my CMX forms, both open hand and with my weapons with combos.
Okay, so I mean, you're really killing it in the Korean sphere because the publicity that Korean Challenge is bringing. Do you think this is a good direction for the sport?
I do think so. And I know Jeff has been trying to push it, and a lot of people, too, on the circuit, because I know that a lot of people, or not a lot of people, but most of the competitors on the circuit, they also have like a Taekwondo background,
Hmm.
and they kind of went towards like the Japanese forms when they had to compete. But yeah, I really look forward to like seeing this in the future. I know next year, from what I heard, it's going to be NASCAR rated. But this year's kind of like a trial run, so it's not NASCAR. And so like I just hope kind of like there's gonna be like prize money, and just I hope it really gets the exposure that it should.
It has, it seems like it's doing really well, and I think that they're going to move towards it. Like you said, a lot of people have that taekwondo background. I even see you in like the more of the traditional taekwondo uniform because you're at the karate school. So I get that, and I remember trying to even myself conform to the Japanese divisions, and it just doesn't showcase the same level that you have in your kicks. You can see in your kicks and your forms are just so gorgeous.
Thank
Now,
you.
what's your what's your origin story? How did you get into martial arts?
Yeah, so I believe I started when I was around 6. And I had just moved into the area. My parents just kind of wanted me to get out there because I was shy. I still am. But they wanted to, get me out there, get the exposure. And after like my first lesson, I just remember like everyone's like just really shocked at like what I could do because I was very flexible back then when I was younger.
And then kind of going towards the CMX area, how did you get into that?
Yeah, so I actually started competing in the Olympic tournaments before getting into NASCA. But I remember coming up, my instructor, Kurt Shryock, he also had his like own team, and he started bringing some of his students to the NASCA circuit. Like he had Jake Khan, other people, and so when Jake Khan came back to here to Victory Martial Arts, he started exposing us to more of the CMX forms and weapons. And so that's how I got into it.
All right, great. And then you currently teach too, right? I mean, you had to ask
Yeah.
somebody to cover your class to do this podcast. So tell me more about stepping into that role, a leadership role as well as a role model.
Right. Yeah. So I believe I started pretty young, as I started competing more, I also started to teach the students here. And now I'm kind of like helping other black belts coming up to help teach too, as well. Just try to be that role model to the little kids who are looking up to me and everyone else.
Right. And now obviously you're in the women's division. You've been competing for a long time now. What's your long-term goals in martial arts?
Honestly, it's just kind of giving back, at least teaching wise. I've been here for like 15 years. I've been doing taekwondo, and I just want to kind of give back to the school that's been helping me grow into the person that I am today. And then as like competition wise, I think right now I'm on like a really pretty good track, and I'll continue this track and just see where I go with it. Hopefully try to strive for that world title.
Yeah, and so to my understanding, there's no world title for Korean Challenge yet.
No, not right now.
Okay.
I think that's something like in the future that they're thinking about. Mhm.
Okay, awesome. Um, Now, in terms of what you do as well, not martial arts related, just tell me a little bit more about like yourself.
Um, okay, yeah. So I would say right now I'm also focusing on school. I'm kind of jumping around to like different majors and stuff like that, trying to look into different fields of like healthcare and stuff. But I'm just someone, who is like quiet, but I love to be like active, whether it's like just going outside for a run or just even coming in here and practice and teaching, and stuff like that.
Okay. All right. Now, for anybody who might be watching, considering participating in the Korean challenge, right now it is men and women, but what would you say in terms of preparing for the setup of it?
Yeah, so for the Korean challenge, you actually have judges in 3 different corners of the ring. So you have one person in the middle and you have two on, the other corner. So I think just like when you're preparing for a competition like this, you just really want to show off like all your like sharp techniques that comes with the taekwondo style, because it is different from the Japanese style. I think when it comes to like both power and execution, very two different styles.
Okay. All right. Now, in terms of the tournament itself, US Capital Classics, China Open, I heard some great reviews. How do you think that the tournament overall went?
Overall, I'm gonna say, at least from my experience, from what I saw, I think it went well. With the black belts division, I think it didn't run on time. It was a little bit late. And I heard some things about, certain divisions going at certain times, a lot of waiting. But I think it's like a great venue. It's right there in the National Harbor. You got a lot of things to do, like walk in the pier and just restaurants, and then not too far away, you have the DC area, so a lot of museums and stuff.
Yeah, you cannot. I feel like you can. It's very hard to beat the venue, the location of the U.S. Capitol Classics. Where is your school based out of again?
In like Elkridge, Maryland.
Maryland. So this wasn't far for you at all.
No, it was right in my hometown.
Okay, awesome. All right. Well, if there's anything that you could take away from this tournament, from the Capital Classics, even though you won your division, you won the grands, what's a lesson that you're going home with back to the karate school?
Yeah, so I mean, for me personally, I had some ups and downs, even though I won some of my divisions, that you just gotta keep going. You work, you identify those mistakes, you kind of work on it and just push through, and just try to stay positive when you're competing, just training overall.
Awesome. Great mentality, Kaityln. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the Power Chat series to talk a little bit more about your background and the Korean Challenge and the Capital Classics. It was cool to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. This was the U.S. Capital Classics China Open post show where Kaityln took home the win in the Korean Challenge, and there were a bunch of other winners. So make sure you check out our streams on all of our pages if you missed any of the competition.